On today's show, Darius Garland is back and Donovan Mitchell scores the same number of points as his jersey number. Talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use code all lowercase LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. We're going to talk about Cavs Pistons, a game Cleveland won, although it took a little bit of effort and some Donovan Mitchell heroics. We're going to talk about Sam Merrill. We're going to talk about AllStar reserves. Does Jarrett Allen perhaps get a late nod? But Evan, let's start with the man of the hour. The returning Darius Garland, limited in minutes in this game. Certainly not the full Darius Garland as of yet. But what did you make from night one back for the Cavs star guard?
To start, not too bad. He wasn't pressing super hard. JB Bickerstaff shared pregame that Garland has kind of been chomping at the bit to get back on the floor, but the Cavs are kind of making him slow their roll. JB said it made him a real sad boy when that happened. Made me think of you when he said that. And
that's right. I am the sad boy I am everyone's default sad boy, I think. Is that fair? Am I like in most people's lives like their sad boy friend? Is that where I am?
I mean, I tend to congregate with the similar flocks, so I don't say you're exclusive to that group, but
cool.
So but back to what I was saying, he looked like his usual self. He was moving a lot better, I think, than he was before the injury. I think that was kind of evident. Just having those fresh legs certainly helped. But as the game, and then he also has like that insane 3-pointer where he just is fouled by Cade Cunningham and he falls over and he just drains it. And I'm thinking, okay, we're seeing some stuff here where he was really moving the ball with presence and had it on the string of his playmaking. Like he had a lot of really nice passes to Allen and Mobley down low or kicking out to guys on the perimeter, like typical Darius Garland stuff. But then you notice just after a while, like it was evident he had been out for a month and a half because he just feel like some of the wind coming out of his sails and some of the steam just kind of coming out of his engine a little bit. Even Evan Mobley shared before this game at shoot around, like he was surprised, like the difference in how in shape you have to be to play NBA level basketball versus just like the stuff the Cavs had them doing just to stay in shape so that it wouldn't be a total like medical risk for them to be back on the floor. So he'll get his legs back underneath him. It'll take time, of course. I think the 20 to 24-ish limit will be around for a little bit. And we'll just kind of keep an eye on how he's going. But yeah, he looked great, especially because he really did try his best to acclimate himself to this new offensive system the Cavs are doing. And like he put up 6 3-pointers in 20 minutes, and that was a welcome surprise in of itself. And to your point, like they played him off ball quite a bit too, and he looked comfortable doing that.
Yeah, I thought it was very intentional, if nothing else, about how they used him and what they did with him. So, for right off the bat, I thought you got good energy from him. He gets that popping pass to Allen that just rolls out. Jarrett Allen, by the way, we'll get to him later, playing through some illness. Good on him for the toughness I think he showed in this game. But then he gets the ball back, and Garland gets an assist to Mobley. And the next possession, Mitchell brings up the ball, and then Darius Garland comes off a screen, off a layer of screens from the corner to be an option as a shooter. Mitchell takes a pull-up, but you're seeing them use him in different ways. Evan, the first time I was like, Darius Garland is back, 7:46, first quarter. He pumps, he gets the ball off a screen, pumps, big side strip dribble, hits the three, gets fouled, and he's got that shot making in his bag, and that was on display there in kind of a different way than we've seen all the time. That's the template of what I want to see. I want to see Darius doing that kind of stuff. I want to see Darius pushing himself and expanding himself. And there's going to be a build. It's not going to come overnight, but I think it's there if they want to go for it. And I think early indications to me would would lead me to think that they're going to try to go for it with this and try to have Darius evolve and keep playing within the style that has won them so many games of late.
Yeah, I definitely think you're spot on with that, where they the Cavs are for sure trying to just kind of, work with what's working, but also lean on the fact that the Cavs have found a lot of things that have been functionally good that got them to this point, and it's going to be a work in progress. I don't think there's going to be nights where it's absolutely perfect, but if you're trying to, figure out what you have post, injury like you do with Garland right now, this is a pretty good way to start and kind of a good way to get your feet wet, especially when the Cavs have been without them for so long, and it's going to be a bit of a figuring out process. And also just because they have him and Mobley both on a minute restriction, so you got to be a little bit patient and realistic about where he's at and where he's going, and ditto for Mobley as well.
Let me ask you this before we move on to next segment. Which player do you think came back and has looked more immediately back up the speed? Obviously, both on minutes restrictions, obviously both kind of figuring themselves out to some degree. But is there did one of the guys more than the other, do you strike you as hitting the ground running in any particular way?
I think Garland, at least in this game against Detroit, I think you saw more of it against the Clippers for Evan Mobley, and just because Mobley really stepped up in those limited minutes too. But it's also kind of hard to take gauge what the Cavs are capable of, or even planning on doing with these guys back in the fold until they are 100% available and they aren't on these minute restrictions much longer. But for now, it's Mobley in this game against the game against the Clippers, and Garland in the game against the Pistons. What about you?
I think it's Garland for sure. I think Garland just came out and was getting up a lot of threes. He was doing very Darius Garland stuff. Certainly not a box score kind of night that you're going to look back and say, oh, he was awesome from the first night he came back from missing all this time with a broken jaw. But he took 12 shots in 20 and a half minutes, just under 20 minutes, 30 seconds, 6 threes. Only had 3 assists against just 1 turnover and had 19 points. He really did just come out and say, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be aggressive. I'm going to play in the certain way. For him to have 50% of his shots from 3, when I think he's in the 30%, 35%, I'm checking this right now. That was such a big uptick, and that to me felt intentional way we can measure it and look at it in a real way. With Mobley, it's a little more of a slow burn, and there's, I think, more the puzzle piece. So Darius Garland for the year, 29% of his shots came from 3, 50% in this game. With him, it's you can see that, and maybe that doesn't hold game over game, but I would like to see it be 40% or something of that nature, and I think it's possible with Mobley. I think that the acclimation is going to feel more of a slow burn, where Garland is not, I think, going to feel quite like that.
No, I agree. I think it's going to be a figuring out process and a feeling out process no matter what you do if you're the Cavs in this scenario. But yeah, there's going to be nights where Garland isn't doing exactly that, but I do think there's a path to success for him to have numbers that are comparable to that. And more importantly, at least in my eyes, is just more so the fact that the Cavs can really find a way to encourage that, just especially because this is the offense they've been wanting to play all season long, and they found it without Garland and Mobley, and it's a little bit of an added luxury that you're already seeing Garland take advantage of a lot of those off-ball looks or wide-open three-pointers that he was getting tonight against the Pistons.
Up after this, we're going to dive into Cavs Pistons, how they won it, Donovan Mitchell's big night, and why, and all in all, you'll just take a win on a night like this. We'll talk about that after this. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the largest DFS platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It is just you against the numbers, so you pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can also play along some of PrizePicks' favorite players like the rapper Meek Mill and the comedian Andrew Schultz, You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries with some of the biggest names in the PrizePicks community each week. They also offer a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, for instance, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedInNBA and use code LockedInNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com, promo code LockedInNBA at /LockedInNBA and $100 deposit match. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Terms and conditions apply. All right, we are back here on Locked On Cavs. Evan, Cleveland won this game, and I think there's only one place to look at why they won it, and that's Donovan Mitchell scored 45 points and was by far the best player on the floor.
Oh, without a doubt, he was the best player on the floor tonight for the Cavs, and they needed every single one of those points. I'm actually curious to see how many points overall he was responsible for throughout this entire night for the Cavs, but just like in terms of assists and maybe the second chance opportunities he got with a few of the offensive rebounds he got. But like they like I said, like they needed every single point from Donovan Mitchell in this game. If they didn't have it or get it, like it just would have been an uphill battle, an uphill grind. I think we'll touch on Jared Allen later on.
Yeah.
But like Allen was also just as vital, but like Mitchell grinded to the very end of this game. And then I was waiting outside the locker and waiting for all the players to be back before media could go to the media room. And he was dapping up security, assistant coaches, members of Cavs communications, and just kept saying, just another day in the office. So for him, I think he is able to dig deep and kind of just play at this level at any time. Like his engine, we talk about it all the time in the show, just runs so consistently hot. But Mitchell was sensational in this game, and I don't think the Cavs would have won this game without him.
He is just doing everything right now. In this game, 14-25, 6-13 from 3, 11-12 from the line, 8 assists, just 2 turnovers. Is a plus-minus of 22, which, take that for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. And in the fourth quarter in particular, when this game was close, the Cavs were trailing for part of the fourth quarter against a bad Pistons team. A Pistons team that, to their credit, I think played friskily and energetically, and Cade Cunningham had some really nice moments in this game for sure. But Donovan Mitchell plays 10 minutes of the fourth quarter, takes 10 shots. No other Cavalier took more than 3. That was Max Strus. He's 2-4 from 3, 6-6 from the line, has 20 points. It's only the next highest scoring Cavs in the fourth quarter. Jared Allen had 4. Karis LeVert had 4. This was the Donovan Mitchell show, and like we've said this, Evan, but even there are some nights where he's not going to need to do this. There's nights where, Dean Wade's going to get hotter. Now that Garland's back, he's going to get hotter. Maybe Strus kind of normalizes and has a big 3-point shooting. There's the George and Yang game from a week ago. But there is just a value in a night where like the team doesn't have it. You're playing a team that is coming for you. You have a game the next night, and you're going to need energy for that too. Mitchell just takes care of you. He's capable of doing it. He's done it time and time and time again.
Yeah, and I think we've seen it from the moment he joined the Cavs, and even to start this season, there were moments where like you could tell Mitchell still wasn't quite 100% on the floor. And especially just with the hamstring injuries he was dealing with at the start of the season, a little bit of just like the wiggle back that. And at least for Donovan, like this was a silver lining, the fact that like he could step up and just, it's very clear he's more than comfortable with carrying the load offensively for Cleveland. And like that in of itself is refreshing if you're the Cavs. But more importantly, like Cleveland just played really, really well in this game. And also just like Donovan Mitchell just did every little thing they needed a superstar player like him to do to make sure that he had enough gas in the tank to get them to where they needed to be and also just secure the win. But let's shift focus real quick. Jared Allen dealing with the flu, wasn't playing. He was playing through it. He had no gas in the tank, according to JB Bickerstaff, towards the end of the game. He only had a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to eat for the entire day as well. Like, was clearly tapped out, but like played some really, really, really key defense down the stretch for Cleveland. I think like a play that really stood out for me was Isaac Okoro was on Cade Cunningham with about like 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. Okoro did a really good job, like not giving Cunningham like an easy drive to the basket, but eventually he was able to get past him. I think it was because of a Detroit screen, probably from Jalen Duren or one of the million old power forward, small forward hybrids that the Pistons have on their roster. But then you see Allen recover as a help defender and then just completely smother without fouling Cunningham at the rim and not giving up like an easy free throw opportunity, because the game was so tight and so close. And for a guy not to have any gas in the tank and be able to do that was really impressive, and just another indication of, sure, maybe he didn't have like the most flashy night statistically, but like really stepped up once again and just kind of shouldered the load, at least on the defensive side of the ball, as Mitchell just scintillated Detroit with his scoring punch.
For him to play an NBA game and play, I'm going to see look how many minutes he played in total on just the fourth. He played 30 minutes and feel like he's playing everywhere and still be like a pretty darn effective player and eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich is frankly crazy. Like, the fact that he did that speaks to his toughness, speaks to his buy-in to his team. Like, whatever positive things you want to say, I feel like playing an NBA game after only eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich all day is like insanely impressive.
Oh yeah, it's nutty for sure. Like,
I see what you did. I wasn't
even thinking of that, but it's just more so the fact that that's like not a lot of calories for a big man who is literally a big man and also just like a big player in terms of his position too, and the need for the Cavs. Like, not a lot of food to lean on. Like, I'm sure pushing fluids like crazy, because when you're sick, like, hydration is key, of course, but more importantly, like, the fact that he was able to step up like that and just kind of like rock with such little just, you know, get like actual like food fuel pushing him through is really impressive. And even like Donovan Mitchell said, like, yeah, when you're sick, like, we had a hard time hearing him. Like, he like, you know, he's coughing a lot. He's trying to like focus on his breathing as much as he can. And like, there's just a lot of just, you know, really just, I don't want to say inspiring stuff, but it's still like endearing, at least, to see like a guy like that really step up and be like such an impactful player that the Cavs needed him to be, despite just, you know, circumstances that may unfortunately just been out of his control. Yeah,
we'll see if he plays tomorrow. Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, maybe, just to not play him on the second night of a back-to-back, but it's weird center position stuff. Maybe he's just feeling better or whatever.
They could rest him. I did ask JB pregame. This is before, you know, because JB let it slip for a second that Darius would play, but then he's like, oh, if he plays, of course, you know.
Well, which like, it was also reported like yesterday that he was going to play.
I know.
So
but even like George Niang was like, oh, is he going to play? I don't know. Like, just taunting kind of stuff. But at least for now, just depending on how their bodies are feeling. But Garland and Mobley will play against Memphis on the second game of a back-to-back, despite, you know, their progress back to the floor. So like, if you could afford to rest Allen against a Grizzlies team that is playing a lot of 10-day guys, is still playing hard regardless, and just rock with Evan Mobley and shooting around him as your center, and then lean on Damian Jones for as much as you can, I think you have to kind of maybe roll the dice on that if you think you can afford to let Allen rest for the game, for that night.
Yeah, I think one night wouldn't be the worst in the world. Oh, one other guy, Evan, I want to shout that I thought played a great game. I just thought Isaac Okoro was, again, very good.
Awesome.
You know, obviously,
he's awesome.
Maybe not the level he was at the Clippers, but that guy is just a good two-way player now, and I think we have to treat him as such.
Yeah, I think the Cavs playing faster all season long has done a lot for him offensively in small moments, but he really did benefit gaining confidence and momentum that maybe he wouldn't have gotten when this team was fully healthy, and that confidence and momentum is translatable even if he plays he isn't a starter and he's maybe playing a smaller role, but he is a guy, at least in my eyes, like, with how well he's playing lately, especially just as a two-way player, as you had noted, like, you could justifiably close games with him now just because he's not going to be like a total liability on the offensive side of the ball for you.
After this, Sam Merrill and All-Star talk. We'll talk about that after this. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Locked On and America's #1 sportsbook. Happy Super Bowl to all those who celebrate from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you're like me, Super Bowl Sunday is all about scoring the best seat on the couch, grabbing your favorite football snack, and placing some super bets. Evan, do you have a favorite part of Super Bowl Sunday?
The game, I guess. I don't know. It's a really basic answer. My team hasn't won the Super Bowl since Super Bowl 50, so it's always the Chiefs, I guess. And Patrick Mahomes is never going away. But, I mean, you know what? It's a fun time for everyone. I think if you're just a fan of the sport, the Super Bowl is great. What about you, pal?
I like watching the game with my dad and having some chicken wings. That's like we usually make our own. That's the move. Make our own sauce and stuff. So it's a great time. But there are also things you can do with FanDuel for Super Bowl Sunday. A few Super Bowl bets that I'm looking at on FanDuel. Travis Kelce to win MVP at plus 1,700. Why not? Cleveland, Ohio's own. The over-under is at 47.5. Intrigued. I think I like the over on that just based on the offenses. Even though the defenses are both really good, that's a tough number. That's why Vegas is great at its job. And also, this one caught my eye on their props. You can go props on jersey number for over-under. Set the over-under at 19.5 on a jersey number for first and last touchdown scorer in the Super Bowl. I just thought that was fun that you could go on the jersey number and get to kind of math that out a little bit in your head. So FanDuel has so many ways for you to end the season with a W or 2 or 3. Not only can you bet on who will win the Super Bowl 58, but they have parlays, how many points will be scored, and all those great props. New customers join today, and you'll get $200 in bonus bets for your first bet of $5 or more wins. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to sign up. That is FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment worth FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, let's finish this up
real quick. Sorry, I was laughing when you were talking about the jersey number thing. I did see somebody post on Twitter that they made a fake account to message every Chiefs player and 49ers player asking them, like, hey, we're working on a class project and I can get out of math class, boob math, if you tell me what color the Gatorade's going to be. If you guys dump on your coach when you win the Super Bowl, thanks. Because, that's another bet you can place. And it's just like, it's funny. It's funny stuff. But let's wrap this one up. Let's close the book on Pistons, Cavs. But people what?
Just have lots of time on their hands, I think, and I'm sort of jealous of them, but I'm also like, you could have done something better with your time, my thought.
Sports gambling is also a hell of a drug, so.
Yes, yes it is. All right, so let's look at Sam Merrill, who, before the game, JB Bickerstaff talks about how they want to find him to get minutes, and it's going to be hard at times, but they want to find a way to get him minutes. Merrill ends up playing 60 minutes in this game. He's one of 10 Cavs to play. He plays close to what Niang played. He plays more than Dean Wade. And obviously, like, you have the minutes restrictions playing here, but Evan, it feels like, number one, Merrill is just going to at least get some minutes here or there. It's going to vacillate up and down a little bit based on the Clippers game or this game. It's going to go up and down. But I think you also could see this team, I think, run 10-man rotations here for a little bit. And just if someone is proving themselves on a given night, then that guy gets to go get the minutes on a given night. And like Merrill, for instance, was the example of that tonight.
Yeah, I think he's just the example of it tonight. And then the game against the Clippers the other night, Sam Merrill maybe played 7 minutes in that one. You saw Craig Porter Jr. getting more minutes than Merrill did. And it's just, I think more so, unfortunately, he played really well for the Cavs. He's another one of those guys that really stepped up. I think Donovan Mitchell really shouted him out quite a bit all throughout this process, just because either it's the relationship they've had since same as at Utah State and Donovan was with the Jazz to now. It's just funny how life works out. But he's going to be a casualty of the Cavs getting healthier. And he was asked about this post game. He's just like, listen, I understand it's a situation, whether I get 5 minutes to 10 minutes to 15 minutes or whatever, I'm good. And the fact that he's just able to rip it from 3-point range so much and just kind of be that consistent offensive threat, he has a leg up over Craig Porter Jr. He definitely has one up over Damian Jones as well. And maybe even Dean Wade, if you want to eat into Dean Wade's minutes at times, but Wade has been very good lately, especially after going back to the bench for Evan Mobley in the last 2 games, just in terms of maybe not giving you a ton offensively, but he's giving you a lot of that defensive upside too. So I think for Merrill, like I said, it's a make or miss league to begin with. If you get him a few looks and his shot's not falling, and maybe the opposing team is kind of exploiting him a little bit in his defensive capabilities, maybe you look elsewhere and you look at like a Craig Porter Jr. or you give more minutes to Dean Wade, or like you lean more heavily on Max Strus than the Cavs already do. But I think Merrill has really shown us a lot in this stretch, and I think like Isaac Okoro, he has a lot of momentum on his side and also just like a lot of confidence on his side. But if you're JB Bickerstaff, it is a tough situation because you can only play so many guys, and you don't want to let a guy like Sam Merrill, who shooters need rhythm, they need consistency. You don't want to let him cool off, and you want to let him ride this momentum he's built. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I think if you're Bickerstaff, you do try to find a way to get him in the rotation, but if he doesn't have it, it's easier to kind of give him the hook that night.
Yeah, and Merrill's one of those guys who has talked about wanting to get consistent minutes and how helpful it is for him. So there's certainly, I think, a line to walk there. Evan, one on this. All-Star reserves announced on Thursday. Let's make predictions. I think the Cavs get one. Yes.
You said let's look at Sam Merrill. Here he is on the screen. We can look at him real quick.
Look at that sweet Mormon boy. You just pulled it. You're like Jack. You just pulled a Jackson Flickinger in the sense you had like a Sam Merrill photo like in your pocket and like look at my son.
No, it is the dimensions of like a wallet sized photo. Like I could have like a wallet size 5x7. I pull out of my wallet. And I'm like, this is the I don't know, the Latter-day Sniper or whatever. But yeah,
we got in terms of the Mormon marksman.
There it goes. There you go. Or I always call him the Latter Game. I also call him the Latter Game Saint sometimes too, and I'm like, that's pretty. I thought that was clever, but I think the Mormon Marksman just rolls off the tongue better. But I don't know if that'll stick on radio or TV. But either way, I agree. I think they get one All-Star. It's gonna be Donovan Mitchell, I'd say. You said this in our group chat with Jake, our producer, a little bit though, but it is a little interesting to see. Like a lot of people are making a bit of like a full court press to say that Jared Allen should get All-Star considerations as well, which I think he should. It's just there's only so many spots to go around, and I just think he may not make the cut.
Yeah, Mitchell's a lock. I personally think Mitchell and Jalen Brunson as well both had better cases to actually be a starter than Damian Lillard, but fan vote, whatever, it is what it is. You get there, you get there. It doesn't ultimately matter. I think you look at the bigs in the East, and there's just going to be, I think, some really interesting questions here. And there's also room, I would say this, that if Allen doesn't get in on Thursday, Joel Embiid's hurt, and Julius Randle's also hurt, and Julius Randle having like an All-Star caliber year is also on a lot of ballots I've seen. That's how Jared Allen ends up in All-Stars. He gets named as a reserve. Just if he does not get named on Thursday, let's just say his name is not called on Thursday when they announce he's on TNT.
Well, yeah, I think that's
a week later. Yeah, that feels like the more likely.
There's also the fact that like Tyrese Halliburton's dealing with some stuff as well. Like if he's unable to play, you bump a guy from the bench into the starting lineup. I think that is the coach's decision.
So you're saying Sam Merrill to the All-Star game to replace Tyrese Halliburton?
No, I'm not Jackson Flickinger, who said that the Cavs should trade Darius Garland and build around Sam Merrill. And also, I just want it to be known also that Jackson asked JV Bickerstaff about why the Cavs were so good at defending the point line this season compared to last year, then proceeded to get torched by the Pistons in this game from the perimeter. But I think just like, let's say Halliburton can't go, if Randall can't go, if Embiid can't go, like there are guys that just because of health concerns and for health's sake, like there could be a path for Allen to sneak in as like an alternate. I want to say that's what happened last time too, right? When they hosted in Cleveland, because I don't think he was voted in outright. No,
I can't remember if he was named as a reserve or not. I'm gonna
check it now.
Yeah, we can at least. I'm seeing if this is there on this Wikipedia page. If not, it doesn't matter that much. He was named as a replacement for James Harden. So it's a great memory on your part. He replaced Big Jim himself.
Big Jimmy. So yeah, that could be another way he gets into it. And like he's just been playing out of his absolute gourd, and I do think you need to recognize that. And We will see what happens, though. I again will not bat an eye when it's Donovan Mitchell and then Jared Allen is named after the fact.
Yeah, would not shock me. We're going to end there. I'm Chris Manning. That is Evan Dammarell. Back at you Friday. We are going to recap Cavs Grizzlies, which is a basketball game that is happening. And we'll talk about All-Stars. We'll look at those rosters, react to those. Busy day in the NBA Thursday evening. This calendar never stops. Talk to y'all then. Thanks again to Jake Stevens as always. Have a great rest of your day.